Hey guys, Hades here. This is a lesson on riddles, and this is an ESL channel, and I'm guessing the level would be about intermediate for this. Basically, we're just going to do some riddles. You don't have to be an ESL learner if you're interested in riddles, but just keep in mind that it's going to go kind of slowly because this is designed for ESL students, people who are learning English. Okay, so we're looking at riddles today, as I said, and basically, I'm. It's just going to be a bunch of riddles. You'll maybe get a little bit of vocabulary, but it will mostly be riddles. Also, every time I ask a question, I'm going to give about 5 seconds. If you want to think about any of the answers to these, then of course you can just pause it before we go on. If you're interested in thinking about it and solving it before I go on. Okay, what is a riddle? Why do people tell each other riddles? What is a hint? What goes up but never comes down? That's your first riddle. What goes up but never comes down? A riddle is basically like a puzzle. It's a question or observation worded in a puzzling manner as a problem to be solved. A hint is a clue or connotation given to help one solve a problem or reach a goal. Often, often Chinese students would call a hint a tip. Take off my skin and I won't cry, but you will. What am I? Okay, again, what goes up and never comes down? That's the riddle I asked you earlier. It's your age. And take off my skin and I won't cry, but you will. What am I? It's an onion, right? I don't want to explain these too much, right? But when you peel an onion, it makes your eyes tear, right? I'm, if I were just giving these riddles to normal English speakers or people who spoke English well, I wouldn't explain them so much. But I have students sometimes who don't understand exactly. It's not because uh, they're less than intelligent. It's mostly because they're having trouble with the words, right, and putting them together and understanding what I mean. And I believe I asked a question earlier: why do people tell riddles? Usually for fun. Usually, some people enjoy that. I maybe don't like it so much. That's not what I do in my free time, but a lot of people like it. I think they're interesting, and some of them are very good. I found a bunch of riddles online. Well, not a bunch, a number of riddles online. And so we're just going through those today. I don't believe any of them are copyrighted. Okay, did you know that I am magic? I can predict something from you. If you want, I can predict your age. And I'll tell you how I'm going to do that in just a minute. And I'll show you I'm right after class. Okay, I'm used to doing this in front of a live class. And in that case, I'll pick one, two, or three students and I will predict something about them. But since this is not live, it's online, it'll be all about you, the person watching this. All right? So if you want me to predict your age, right now, put your hand against your computer screen or your phone screen, okay? Make sure your hand's there. Now I want you to concentrate on your age. Think it over and over and over with your hand on the screen. Okay? Are you doing that? Also, make sure that you think in English because I can read minds, but I can only read minds that are thinking in English. If English is not your first language, please make sure to think of your age in your first language. Okay? At the end of this, I'm going to tell you your age. Make sure your hand is against your screen, your phone screen, your computer screen, your iPad, whatever. And think about your age. Think hard. I'm trying to read your age. Think really hard. Okay. Okay, I think I've got it. So I will answer you, give you your age. I will tell you your age at the end of this. Okay, another riddle. A box without hinges, key or lid, yet golden treasure inside is hid. Now this is from, out of all the riddles, this is the only one I know who it was written by. This was written by J.R.R. Tolkien, and it was in The Hobbit. Tolkien is one of my favorite writers. I recommend reading The Hobbit. Probably you can get it, pick it up, understand it at intermediate level of English. He also wrote Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion. Now those, you're going to have to pick up more English, be a little more advanced to be able to read the Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion. But I think at a solid intermediate level, you will be able to read The Hobbit, and I highly recommend it. There are some films out, Hobbit films. I don't recommend them so much. I do recommend watching Lord of the Rings, but The Hobbit I recommend you read by yourself. It's an easier read than Lord of the Rings, but the movies aren't so good, whereas I like the Lord of the Rings films. But anyhow, your riddle. A box without hinges, key or lid, yet golden treasure inside is hid. Okay, for most of these riddles, I'm going to give you a hint. And usually the hint will be in the form of a picture. So the hint for the last riddle is this picture right here. What animal is that? And this is a hint as to what the answer to the riddle is. A box without hinges, key or lid, yet golden treasure inside is hid. Okay, the answer is an egg, right? An egg is a box without hinges, key, or lid. And the yolk is yellow, golden, right? So that's the answer to the last riddle. All right, next riddle. I'm not an airplane, but I can fly through the sky. I'm not a river, but I'm full of water. What am I? I'm not an airplane, but I can fly through the sky. I'm not a river, but I'm full of water. What am I? Here's your hint for that riddle. This is, I think, the easiest hint. Maybe too easy. The other hints aren't this easy. Okay, you think you got the answer? Okay, the answer is a cloud, right? It flies through the sky and it's full of water, right? The answer is a cloud. Okay, next riddle. What do you put in a cup to make it lighter? What do you put in a cup to make it lighter? Okay, here is your hint. That's your hint. You thinking about it? What do you put in a cup to make it lighter? This is, I believe, one of the harder riddles. A lot of times students don't get this one. What do you put in a cup to make it lighter? Students before have guessed candle, right? Because if you put a candle in a cup, it's lighter inside, as in brighter, right? But that's not the answer. So, once again, what do you put in a cup to make it lighter? Okay, here you go. There's your answer. It's a hole, right? If you put a hole in a cup, you make it lighter. If you put a hole in it, you're removing some of its mass, so it'll be lighter. Yeah, get it? Yeah. Okay. All right, next riddle. Normally, I'll have a student read this, but this is not a live class. All right, so here goes. This is an unusual paragraph. I'm curious how quickly you can find out what is so unusual about it. It looks so plain, you would think nothing is wrong with it. It is unusual, though. Study it and think about it, but you still might not find anything odd. But if you work at it a bit, you might find out. Try to do so without any hints or coaching. So, what is different about this paragraph? It's very unusual, it's odd, it's different, it's not normal, it's, let's say, abnormal. Uh, very unusual, very different than most paragraphs you'll find in English. Why? Uh, this is also kind of a hard one. A lot of students don't get it. And there's no hints for this one. So the next slide won't be a hint, it'll be the answer. I'll read it again. This is an unusual paragraph. I'm curious how quickly you can find out what is so unusual about it. It looks so plain you would think nothing is wrong with it. It is unusual, though. Study it and think about it, but you still might not find anything odd. But if you work at it a bit, you might find out. Try to do so without any hints or coaching. Okay, as I said, there's no hints for the last one. The answer is the letter E. It does not contain the letter E. That is unusual because the letter E is the most common letter in the English language. So that paragraph had to be written very deliberately to not use the letter E, because you'll almost always see the letter E in an entire paragraph, usually in every sentence. So that paragraph was written very specifically to not have the letter E in it. That one's maybe a little difficult. Okay, next riddle. No sooner spoken than broken. So, what is it? No sooner spoken than broken. Here's your hint, and if you don't know who these people are, then you won't. Then it's not a hint at all. You have to, you have to be pretty old. These guys are much older than me, or you have to be familiar with older music. Uh, Otherwise, it's a bad hint. I apologize, but I like these guys, and I couldn't help but put this in there. No sooner spoken than broken. What is it? The answer is silence. No sooner spoken than broken. Right? Silence. As soon as you speak, you will break silence. Yeah, the hint was Simon and Garfunkel. Those are an older, before my time. It's a duo that did a lot of folk rock songs, Simon and Garfunkel, and one of their most famous songs was "The Sounds of Silence." But if you if you don't know who they are, then that hint meant nothing to you. But I thought it was a good hint if people knew who they were. But a lot of people today don't listen to Simon and Garfunkel anymore. I still do, even though they're older than me. They're before my time. Okay, next riddle. They have not flesh, nor feathers, nor scales, nor bone, yet they have fingers and thumbs of their own. What are they? They have not flesh, nor feathers, nor scales, nor bone, yet they have fingers and thumbs of their own. What are they? Okay, here is your hint. They have not flesh, nor feathers, nor scales, nor bone, but they have fingers and thumbs of their own. What are they? So think about it a bit. Think about it. There's your hint. I think this is a pretty good hint. Think about it. Okay, the answer is gloves, right? Gloves. No flesh, no feathers, no scale, nor bone, but they do have fingers and thumbs, right? So gloves. Okay, next riddle. The maker does not need it. The buyer doesn't use it. The user doesn't know it. What is it? Any, any guesses? I'll read it again. The maker doesn't need it. The buyer doesn't use it. The user doesn't know it. What is it? Here's your hint. And because I think this is an easy one, I'm not going to explain the hint so much. The answer is a coffin, right? What people are buried in, right? Because the person who makes it doesn't need it. The person who buys it doesn't use it. And the person who uses it doesn't know it because the person who is using it is dead, right? So the answer is a coffin. Let's go back to the hint really quickly. This is the Grim Reaper, right? Death. But I thought this is an easier riddle, so I didn't want to give too much information on it. But basically, the Grim Reaper comes to grab you in myth. The Reaper comes to grab you when you're dead. But this is such an easier riddle. Most students solve it. I didn't want to talk too much about the hint. Okay, the next riddle. My first is in ocean, but never in sea. My second's in wasp, but never in bee. My third is in glider, and also in flight. My whole is a creature that comes out at night. What am I? Think about it a bit, right? It's in ocean, but not in sea. It's in wasp, but not in bee. It's in glider and also in flight. And basically, the whole thing is a creature that comes out at night. So let's look at this again. My first is in ocean, but never in sea. My second's in wasp, but never in bee. My third is in glider and also in flight. My whole is a creature that comes out at night. What am I? Okay, here's your hint. There's a picture there of a bald eagle, type of bird of prey. My first is in ocean, but never in sea. My second's in wasp, but never in bee. My third is in glider and also in flight. My whole is a creature that comes out at night. What am I? The answer's an owl, right? O. My first is in ocean, but never in sea. O, right? My second's in wasp, but never in bee. W, right? W is in wasp, it's not in bee. My third is in glider and also in flight, right? L is in glider, L is in flight. My hole is a creature that comes out at night. So it's an owl. Okay, next riddle. Name a five-letter word that has three consonants that are all the same and two vowels. You might see me while running your PC. So a five-letter word, three consonants, they're all the same letter. The three consonants are all the same letter. And there's two vowels. Actually, your hint really is you might see me while running your PC. Now I say this, but or that's part of the riddle. I didn't write any of these riddles. It's part of the riddle. You might see me while running your PC. I haven't seen that in a while on a PC. But think about it. Five-letter word. It has three consonants. They're all the same consonant, all the same letter, and two vowels. You might see me while running your PC. And that's no other hint than that. The answer is error, right? Error. Three consonants that are all the same. R, and then two vowels, an E and an O. Error. And a number of years ago, I would see that on my PC if something went wrong. It would say error. I don't recall if I've seen that for a long time, but you used to be able to see that. Next riddle. There are 4 girls and 4 apples in a basket. Every girl takes an apple, yet one remains in the basket. How is this possible? So think about it. There's 4 girls, 4 apples, right? 4 and 4. Every girl takes an apple, but one apple is still in the basket. How is that possible? A lot of students get this one. I can't remember if they get it before or after the hint, but here's your hint. What is that a picture of? 4 girls, 4 apples. Each girl takes an apple, but one of them is still in the basket. How is that possible? Okay, the answer is one of the girls also takes the basket, right? So there's 4 apples. They're in a basket. 3 of the girls take an apple out of the basket, but one of the girls takes the apple with the basket. So that's how that's possible. Okay, next riddle. You can see me, you can feel me. If you touch me, you will die. What am I? So think about it. What can you see? What can you feel? But if you touch this thing, you will die. Think about it. Think about it. I don't like my hint so much for this, but we'll look at it anyway. You can see me. You can feel me. If you touch me, you will die. What am I? This is not a great hint. Oh, I had a difficult time coming up with a decent hint for this. The answer is not fire. A lot of students will guess that, but it's not fire. The answer is not fire because you can touch fire without dying, right? So it is not fire. I'm sorry, it's a bad hint. I couldn't think of any other hint to put on here. You can see me, you can feel me, but if you touch me, you will die. What am I? The answer is the sun, right? You can see the sun, you can feel the sun, but you cannot touch the sun. You cannot get anywhere near close to the sun without dying, right? So it's the sun. All right, next riddle. The beginning of eternity, the end of time and space, the beginning of every end, and the end of every place. What am I? Okay, I suggested this was more an intermediate level, and a lot of that has to do with some of the vocabulary in these. Okay, so think about it. If you're not sure, you can look up some of these words. The beginning of eternity, the end of time and space, the beginning of every end, and the end of every place. What am I? Okay, so the answer to this is pretty close or similar to the answer of another riddle we've already discussed. So think about it. The beginning of eternity, the end of time and space, the beginning of every end, and the end of every place. The answer is the letter E, right? The beginning of eternity. Eternity begins with an E. The end of time and space. Time ends with an E, space ends with an E. The beginning of every end. E begins with an, or end it begins with an E, right? So the letter E. All right, next riddle. Name 3 consecutive days without using the words Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Name 3 consecutive days. That means 3 days in a row, right? 3 consecutive days. You can't use Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So what's the answer? Here's your hint. I think, yeah, usually this hint is too easy. When I give it to you, when I give it to other students, they usually get it by this hint. Picture the Beatles there and one of their songs. So the answer, 3 consecutive days without using Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, right? Those are 3 days in a row, and we didn't use any of the days of the week. Okay, your next riddle. A man and a woman were driving in their car when it broke down. The man decided to go for help at a gas station a few miles back. He made sure that nobody but his wife was in the car, rolled up all the windows, and locked all the doors. The car was not a convertible. When he came back, his wife was dead, and there was a stranger in the car. No physical damage was done to the car, so how did the stranger get in? So think on this one. Right? There's a stranger in the car. How did the car get in? Right? The man left. The car was locked. All the windows were rolled up. It was not a convertible. His wife was dead, and there was a stranger in the car. No damage was done to the car. So, how did the stranger get in? Here's your hint, and a lot of students, maybe the hint is too easy. Students almost immediately get it when I show this hint. Right? So, car broke down, the guy leaves, he comes back, his wife is dead, there's a stranger in the car. How did the stranger get into the car? No damage to the car. Okay, the answer was she was pregnant, right? She was pregnant and then she gave birth, right? And something happened during childbirth and she died. So the stranger was a baby. Yeah, get it? Okay, next riddle. How high would you have to count before you would use the letter A in the spelling of a whole number in English, right? So you start counting. 1, O-N-E. So there's no A in that. 2, T-W-O. There's no A in that, right? 100, O-N-E-H-U-N-D-R-E-D. No, there's no A in that. How high would you have to count? No hint for this one. How high would you have to count before you use the letter A in the English spelling of a whole number? So we wouldn't be using halves, right? No 1.5. Whole number. How high would you have to count? The answer is 1,000 or 1,000, right? That's the first time you'll see an A consecutively going from 1 to 1,000. First time you'll see an A is when spelling thousand. Okay, next riddle. I am a five-letter word that gets shorter if you add two letters. What am I? I am a five-letter word that gets shorter if you add two letters. What am I? This is a horrible hint. I don't know why I used it. I guess I couldn't find a good hint. So a five-letter word that gets shorter if you add two letters. The answer is short, right? That's the five-letter word. If you add two letters, ER, then it's shorter, right? So short becomes shorter. Get it? All right. Next riddle. A doctor and a bus driver are in love with the same girl. The bus driver needed to go on a long trip, so he gave the girl 7 apples. Why? A doctor and a bus driver are in love with the same girl. The bus driver needed to go on a long trip, so he gave the girl 7 apples. Why? Here's your hint. Not, not the best hint, but it's better than some of the other ones I came up with, right? A doctor and a bus driver, they're in love with the same girl. The bus driver had to go on a long trip, so he gave the girl 7 apples. Why? So the answer, the answer to this, you have to be familiar with the old saying that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? If you're now, I haven't taught people of every language, but most Chinese students are familiar with that one. So, so they laugh. They get this one. If if that's not a common expression in your language, then you might not get it. But there's basically an expression that says an apple a day keeps the doctor away, meaning eat fruit, right? Eat well, and you won't be sick. All right, next riddle. The more I dry, the wetter I get. What am I? The more I dry, the wetter I get. What am I? Here's your hint. Lady taking a shower. What can that mean? The more I dry, the wetter I get. What am I? The answer is a towel, right? The more it dries, the wetter it gets. Meaning, right, the towel's dry, then you take it and it dries you. And as it's drying you, it gets wet, right? Okay, next riddle. What occurs once in a minute, twice in a moment, but never in 100 years? What occurs once in a minute, twice in a moment, but never in 100 years? Okay, here's your hint. I'm not going to say much about it. Honestly, this is a pretty easy one, so I'm not going to say anything about it. What occurs once in a minute, twice in a moment, but never in 100 years? The answer is the letter M, right? Once in a minute, it begins with M. Twice in a moment, moment, twice in the word moment, but never in 100 years, right? There's no M in 100 years. This one's pretty easy because we had a couple earlier ones that were also letters, so most students get that one. What can you catch but never throw? What can you catch but never throw? Okay, here is your hint. I'm not going to explain it much. Here's your hint. What can you catch but never throw? The answer, a cold or the flu. Because when you get sick, we often say we caught a cold or we caught the flu. But of course, you can't throw it, right? Okay, next riddle. A man and his son get in a car accident and the man dies. When the boy gets to the hospital, the doctor says, I cannot operate on this boy. He is my son. Why? A man and his son get in a car accident and the man dies. When the boy gets to the hospital, the doctor says, I cannot operate on this boy. He is my son. Why? Here's your hint. This is one of the easier ones on here. Most students get it, and if they don't get it immediately, they get it after this. I guess it's a sign of the times. Maybe 100 years ago, 50 years ago, it might have been a harder riddle. But it's actually a pretty easy riddle, right? A man and his son get in a car accident. The man dies. The doctor says, I cannot operate on this boy. He's my son. Why? The answer, of course, is the doctor was his mother, right? Maybe 100 years ago, the reason it was hard to solve was because there were not a lot of female doctors, where there are today. Okay, next riddle. Jerry's mother has 4 sons. The first is named Blue because his eyes are blue. The second is named Brown because his eyes are brown. The third is named Gray because his eyes are gray. What is the 4th son's name? Jerry's mother has 4 sons. The first is named Blue because his eyes are blue. The second is named Brown because his eyes are brown. The third is named Gray because his eyes are gray. What is the 4th son's name? And I just noticed there's a typo here in because. I forgot the E on the end. Anyhow, what is the 4th son's name? Here's your hint. The only way this hint is any good for you is if you know the names of these 2 characters. Okay, I'll tell you the riddle again while we're looking at the hint. Jerry's mother has 4 sons, right? Blue, brown, and gray. What is the 4th son's name? The 4th son is named Jerry, right? Because at the beginning of the riddle, I told you Jerry's mother has 4 sons. And then I gave you the 3 others, but I'd also given you the 4th one at the very beginning of the riddle. Most classes get that. There's been 1 or 2 that didn't. And the hint, those characters were Tom and Jerry. Okay, next riddle. A boy was at a carnival and went to a booth where a man said to the boy, if I write your exact weight on this paper, then you have to give me $50. But if I cannot, then I will pay you $50. The boy looked around and saw no scale, so he agreed, thinking that no matter what the man wrote, he could just lie and win $50. In the end, the boy ended up paying the man. How did the man win the bet? Okay, so this boy goes to a carnival, right? The guy says, I can write your exact weight on this paper. And of course, he wasn't going to weigh him. He just knew his exact weight. Or he said he would write his exact weight. The boy thought he could just lie about it. And so then he said, okay, he took the bet. But in the end, he ended up losing and he had to pay the man. How did the man win the bet? Okay, the man won the bet the same way Jason, that's me, Hades. My real name is Jason. I don't know, my video name here is Hades. He won the bet the same way I was able to write down a specific thing about you. Remember near the beginning, I said, put your hand on the screen and think about your age, and I will be able to write down your age, right? So I'll show you on the next slide that I wrote down your age, and I'm going to be correct. There you go. I told you I was going to write down your age, so I wrote down your age, so I'm correct, right? That is, I don't know how well this is going to do on a video. It works very well in the class. I'll pick several students to come up. I'll guess something about them, maybe their age, not their age in university because they're almost all the same age. But if it was at a training school, I would guess age or sometimes favorite color, favorite sport, something like that. I would guess it and I would touch their forehead and tell them to think about it for a couple seconds. Then they would go sit down. I'd write down your favorite color or your age or your favorite sport. And then I would show the paper to them at the end of the class, right? Of course, I'm not magic. It's a trick. If I say I can write down your age, then I just write down your age. Yeah, a lot of students thought that was hilarious. I don't know how well this is going to go online. So I don't know. Hope you like that one. Okay, guys, we're about done. That was it. That was all the riddles. This is one of my lessons that is quite popular. I used to do this in training schools. They really enjoyed it. And at university, often on the day we take an exam. After the exam, I don't get back into the lesson. We'll just do this riddle thing, and it's quite fun. So out of all my PowerPoints, this is probably the one that the students like the most. So I hope you guys liked it. If you're not learning English as a second language, I'm sorry, hopefully you got something out of it if you just like riddles. I went very slowly and repeated each riddle because this is designed as a lesson for people learning English. And so sometimes, go a little slower and repeat it. Anyhow, hope you guys liked it. Thank you very much, and I hope you guys continue to watch videos. Thanks.